That's the only way we can get it to work. Crazy, crazy. That's 2 days it's done that to me. Bladen, what you need, bud? You got a question, Bladen?
What page is that world? Yes, ma'am.
Your world up close, the story, the passage is page 352. 352. So you're going to need your book on 352 and then your sheet that we've been working on with our passage. There we go. All right, are we ready to go? Gary, look in the chat bar at the message I just sent you. I need you to do me a favor. Thank you. All right, here we go. Okay, guys, so let's look at our sheet that we've been working on this week. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So yesterday, let's kind of recap what we did yesterday. Is it going to show me what I want? There we go. Okay. So yesterday, we did the bottom of our sheet, and we're working on sequencing again this week. And what we did yesterday is just a different way for us to do sequencing. We had 3 questions, and they even used some of those sequencing words in the questions. We've got first in this question, and we had last in this question. So we've got some sequencing. That's just another way that we can do sequencing, okay? So this is what we're looking at today. Okay, so we're looking at the front of our sheet that we've been working on this week on Your World Up Close. And we're going to fill out this graphic organizer in the middle today. So let's look at the graphic organizer and our directions. Yes, Bladen?
I don't know where that was.
Is it not there with your book?
It's not. No, ma'am.
You know, it's the packet that on the front it's got melted moon. All of that reading stapled together. Do you see your melted moon packet?
Yes.
Yep. Flip to about, I think it's the 4th page. It says Your World Up Close.
I got it.
Okay, awesome. All right. So let's look at what it's asking us to do. It says reread the last paragraph on page 353, complete the graphic organizer with details showing the sequence of events in the development of photomicrography. So that's all we're focusing on is the development of photomicrography. So how, in other words, how it started and how we ended up with what we have now. So that's what we're focusing on, okay? So let's look at our text. We are focusing on the last paragraph on page 353. So that would be this paragraph right here. Okay, so I'm going to reread this paragraph, and I want y'all to be listening for those steps. Listen for clue words, just anything that the author gives us that's going to help us know the order in the development of photomicrography. Okay? Photomicrography dates back to 1840 when a scientist named Alfred Denay first photographed images through a microscope. Around 1852, a German pharmacist made the first version of a camera that took photomicrographs. In 1882, Wilson Snowflake Bentley of Vermont became the first person to use a camera with a built-in microscope to take pictures of snowflakes. His photographs showed that there is no such thing as a typical snowflake. Each is unique. Nowadays, we have electron micrographs. All right, did anybody notice what is in our text that we can use to help us know the order of the events that led to the development of photomicrography? Okay, Mitchell, what'd you notice?
The date.
Yes, they gave us the dates. Look at the years. We've got 1840, 1852, 1882. So if you think about one of the things we've been doing in math, we have been looking at comparing numbers. And if we're comparing these numbers, dates are numbers, they've given us the smallest one first, then the next one, then the next. So they're in order. Now let's look at our graphic organizer to see how many events we're going to need. So if we're looking at our graphic organizer, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have 4 events. And if we look, we've got 3 dates. So that's 3 of them. So we're going to go ahead and get started because we start right at the beginning with a date. So we're going to start with that one, and then we're going to see what we're going to need for that last one. Okay? All right, so let's look at it. So what would need to be first? What happened first? Anybody have any guesses? Okay, Mitchell, what do you think?
1840.
So Mitchell, did you write about the event and what happened in 1840?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. So let's look at it. They're telling us it dates back to 1840, and what happened then? A scientist first photographed images through a microscope. So remember, we've talked about putting this in our own words, so we're going to do that. We don't have to put all the information that's there. It doesn't really matter what the scientist's name is for what we're doing. We don't have to know that. So let's put in 1840, we're going to put a comma after that, a scientist first photographed images, and it says through a microscope. Okay, after you get that copy down, let's look and see if you can find what would be next. And Gary and Bladen, I've lost your picture. And Gary, if you want to, you can just type in the chat box if you know what the next one is. So you guys can participate since I can't see you. Yes, Bladen. Can you hear me and see me, Bladen?
It's acting up. It's going off and on.
Okay. Well, just get down what you can, okay? That's fine. It's giving me a little signal on this end that we are having some internet problems. Okay. Does anybody have any guesses of what would be next? Any ideas or suggestions? Gary, I've unmuted your mic if you want to talk to us.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we did 1840, what do we notice would be next?
Around 1852, a German
Pharmacist
made the first
version
of a camera that took photomicrograph.
Oh, excellent job on that word. Yep, that's it. So again, we're going to just pull out the most important stuff. It doesn't matter that he's a German. So we're going to put around 1852, a pharmacist made the first version of a camera that took photomicrographs. So let me ask you a question real quick, since we're putting around 1852. Notice in the other parts it says in 1852. Why does it say around 1852 this time? Does anybody have any guesses on why it says around and not in 1852?
Because it was not at that time, but close to it.
Yeah, you're right. It was not, they don't know that it was for sure. It wasn't right on 1852 in that year, but it was around. It could have been before it, could have been after it. So that's why we've got to put around 1852. All right, so around 1852, a pharmacist made the first version of a camera. I have to come over and use the space underneath because I don't have enough room. Made the first version of a camera that took photomicrographs. Okay, after you have that one written down, look and see what could be next. All right, Mitchell, what do you think would be next?
1882.
Yeah, we're going to need to look at what happened in 1882 because that's the next date that would come from what we've already got. That it would come after 1852. So it says in 1882, Wilson Snowflake Bentley of Vermont became the first person to use a camera with a built-in microscope to take pictures of snowflakes. All right? Well, it's not really important, his whole name. You know, a lot of times we call people by their last name. So we're just going to put Bentley, and it doesn't matter he's from Vermont. We're going to leave that part out, but then we've really got to have the rest of the information. So in 1882, Bentley became the first person to use a camera with a built-in microscope to take pictures of snowflakes. Excuse me. Whew, going around the room again. Snowflakes. Barely got it in there. Okay. That was a long one. I give you a little bit of time to write that one down. Bladen, are you able to see what we're doing?
I'm on the second one.
Okay, that's fine. Right, so as soon as you get that written down, we've used the 3 dates they gave us, but we've still got another event. So looking at your text, what could be the last important event? I'm going to unmute your mics so I can hear what you're thinking for whoever wants to share. What would be the last important thing? There is a time order word that's going to help us.
Miss Garrett,
Uh-huh.
did y'all already do the top of this?
We haven't done this question. We're not doing this question this week. And then the box above that was our reading Schoology assignment on Monday. We did the bottom 3 questions yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, do we have any guesses on what would be last? All right, well, let's look and see what we've got left in our text. We wrote about Snowflake Bentley in 1882, so let's read what's left after that. His photographs showed that there was no such thing as a typical snowflake, so they're just giving us some more information about what he learned when he was able to photograph the blown up version of the snowflake. It says each is unique. Again, still talking about the snowflakes. Nowadays, we have electron micrographs. So did anybody hear something that would be the last step in the development of photomicrography? All right, Mitchell, what did you hear? Electron? Yeah, that's exactly right. So they're telling us because of those things and what happened through the years with those, that nowadays, so that is a sequence word. Miss Garrett does not use nowadays. That's not a word I typically use. But that is a sequence word. That's just one we've not run into this week. So nowadays just means now. It happens now. That's what we have today. So that's what we're going to put for the last, in our last box in our graphic organizer. Nowadays we have electron micrographs. Okay, nowadays we have electron micrographs. All right, so let's look at what we did. And let's go back up, because what we always need to do is go back and read the directions and be sure we did everything it asked us to do. Because in 4th grade, a lot of times our directions can have lots of parts to it. We get a lot of information that we sometimes can get confused on. So let's look back at what they wanted us to do to be sure we did what we were supposed to do. So we're completing the graphic organizer with details showing the sequence of events in the development of photomicrography. So we talked about what happened in 1840, then we went to 1852, then 1882, so our dates are in order. It talked about how, you know, they used a camera with a microscope. And different people kept doing that until at the very end, nowadays, we have an electron micrograph. So instead of us using a camera and a microscope, because of the work that these men did, they were able to develop, scientists and inventors were able to develop what we have today, which is just one piece of equipment that is an electron micrograph that can take pictures of things that are blown up. All right, does anybody have any questions? I'm unmuting everybody, so if anybody's got a question, they can ask. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Even if you're not finished copying this down, pause for just 1 second and I'll put it back up here in a minute. Let's go ahead and talk about what our Schoology assignment is for today. And that way, as soon as you get finished,